Okay, I think we're live. Hi. So it's been a while since I've done any stream of any kind. Since I did this last, I changed my entire tech setup. If anything doesn't work, and you happen to watch this, which awesome. Hi. Try and let me know in the chat, and hopefully I'll be able to catch that. I did not really test this at all, but I wanted to just get back into the habit of this. If this works out well, then I can see this being a more regular occurrence where I walk through a few things that I want to do in code across my various products and projects. And that should not fly in at all. I wanted to turn that off because now my sleep mode's on. How do I turn off? Is that are notifications turned off now? I'm in sleep mode now because it's late in my time zone. We recently had a kid, and there's not much time really to get to streaming, so I'm gonna use the evening hours for this. What I am doing today is I recently started a company, and it has a very super basic website. I needed to have something in place that I could put in the forms, and I have not really built it out much. This is the page that we're looking at right now. There's nothing on there. There's an introductory paragraph. There's some legal text on here. There's my legal notice. And that's it. There's no blog. There's no articles. There's no case studies. There's no nothing yet. And I wanted to, over time, build this out more and more. And that's what we're doing now. I'm going to start with the first task in this. And I'm hopefully going to be able to keep this to half an hour, maybe an hour, because as I said, it's kind of late over here, and I want to walk you through what I'm doing and why I'm doing that. Again, if you see anything that's going on, anything that's wrong with the stream, if the music's too loud, if you can't hear any music, if you can't hear me, tell me. So I did very little with this site so far. One of the things that I did though is I added it to ahrefs. There is an ahrefs dashboard with a site audit that you can run for free. Ahrefs is excellent for finding keywords that you need to target for SEO purposes, and for finding problems, again, with everything related to search and mostly Google. And they do a site audit where you give them your website URL and they walk through the sitemap, they walk through everything, and they see, are you pointing to any dead links? Do people end up on 404s? Is anything missing? Is other pages loading too slowly? And they highlight problems that you can fix. So far, because my page is literally 5, maybe 6 pages, there isn't anything wrong, but it still pointed out a few things that I could change in the site audit. And the audit, it runs every week. Last time it ran was on January the 7th. So last Friday. All right, another one is scheduled for tomorrow. Well, perfect. We can fix this before tomorrow. And then one of the problems will be gone. We see here, it crawled 12 URLs. Everything's fine because there's nothing on there. But it still pointed out a few things. You see there's URLs having issues, 11. Health score is 100. It's an empty page. But we're gonna go to the last crawl that it did and see everything's fine. Again, there's nothing really with errors, but there are warnings and notices. And we're gonna look at one of the warnings in depth today. We see here, these are the top issues, and these are the ones that we're gonna look at now. We're gonna walk through this list. Open graph tags incomplete is the one that I want to do today. I want to add open graph tags so that when you share a URL to one of the pages on, say, Twitter or Facebook, it shows up this little card, right, with a picture, with a preview image, with a title, with a description that's a bit more clickable than just a plain boring old text link. Meta description too short, title too short, H1 tag missing or empty, Twitter card missing will actually be covered by the same thing that we're doing today with the open graph tags, because Twitter has recently moved to using the exact same open graph tags as well. They're only extending it by a bit, like the tweet author and such. The others we are going to look at some other time. I want to look at the open graph tags incomplete. So pages with one or more of the required Open Graph tags missing. Open Graph is a protocol that is not shared, but that's respected or checked by a few sites if you share links. And we can see, let's look at the card validator, card validator Twitter, cards-dev.twitter.com. And we can pass any URL. Let's say we're gonna pass in here the site to my URL to my portfolio. It needs to be a valid URL, so give it the HTTPS. We want to preview the card. And this is what a tweet would look like if I shared this URL now. It has some text here, it has a description here, and of course it has this nice big image up here. Whereas if you shared the URL to my company, fnteach.com, and you previewed that card, it's gonna load what it finds. Unable to render card preview because we didn't specify anything. It doesn't have anything on there. Possibly invalid value if specified OG title. So it can't find the Open Graph title. It can't find the Twitter text title. It can't find the Twitter title. So it can't find any of the meta tags it's looking for to build this. And the values that it looks for, we can find on ogp.me, the Open Graph protocol, OG Open Graph P protocol. And Open Graph works by us adding a few meta tags to the head of our HTML. So we have in our HTML document, we have the head, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, however many meta tags that specify a property such as the OG title. So the Open Graph title, the Open Graph type, we're going to look at what those are, the Open Graph URL, so what URL this page can be found under, and the OG image, which is the preview image that we are going to show. And these 4 are always required for any of the pages that we share. This is what it will always use to build a card. There's optional ones, such as OG audio, if there is any audio that goes with that page for a podcast episode potentially, and an OG description that it can use to show in that box below the title. The determiner, if someone referenced, so Open Graph is a graph of documents, a graph of objects, and this would be a word that appears before the object's title. We're not going to need that because we're only going to use it to show the cards. The locale, we're not going to specify. Site name, we might. So site name, we specify if an object, which in our case will be a website, is part of a larger website. So let's say my Open Graph title is the legal notice, and the legal notice is part of course, my company's website, FNTeach. So I could always specify the site name to be FNTeach. Here, the example is the site would be IMDb, whereas each individual object would be a movie or would be an episode of a TV show. OG video is the equivalent to the OG audio. If there's a video file that goes with that page, we could add that. We're not going to add that. So we will, for now, focus on the 4 required ones, which is title, type, URL, and image. If we look at the crawl that ahrefs did, the 4 required Open Graph tags for every page are OG title, OG type, OG image, and OG URL. Okay, so this is all we're going to do for now. We can extend it later if we want. So I am going to let's pull up the terminal on the side here, and just so we have the reference to the documentation. This is the project that we're working with. It's a Next.js application, doesn't really make a difference. It will work similarly in React applications. For other frameworks, for plain HTML, you'd add it still in the same place. Now I'm going to build a component that I can use across multiple pages. Pages, I only have a few. I have the index page, which is what we saw here. This is the index page, and I made this product super simple. it only contains HTML. There's nothing fancy going on here. There's a scaffold, there's like a layout around this. This is one of the pages that we're going to need to add the Open Graph tags to. There is a 404 page. I didn't even remember that I did that. What's under 404? Okay, 404 page not found. You can see I didn't put too much effort into this. Would even be fair to say that I put as little effort as necessary into this, which would be true. And the other page, and we can add the Open Graph to a 404 page. Why would anyone intentionally link to that? The app TSX and the document TSX. This is TypeScript here, TypeScript and JSX. These won't need it. And then we only have the slug. The slug here is a, what do they call it? It's like a dynamic route for every page in my _pages directory. I have the cookie policy, legal notice, privacy policy, terms of service, which is these pages down here. But they all use the same page template. And we see again, we have the scaffold here. This has a description and a title, which means that I might already be doing something with that for like the meta tags probably. So we might extend that, but I'm gonna duplicate that effort for now. It passes the page description and the page title to here. So 2 pages basically that need the Open Graph. What I'm gonna do is here where I have the layout, I want to add in so we're gonna need a head. The Open Graph tags are meta tags and they always go in the head of our document. And for that in Next.js, we need to import head from next head. And in here we can then, let's just copy it over as they have it in the example. Meta property, let's just say this was it. Meta. So we're gonna do title, type, URL, and OG image. We could honestly keep it at that. And then the index, so the landing page of my company's website would show up as being The Rock, being titled The Rock, being about a movie, linking really to an IMDb entry and showing whatever this image is. What would be the preview for this page? Okay, bad request. So this wouldn't show up. This wouldn't show up apparently. Yeah, we're not gonna keep that anyways, right? What are we gonna call this? So the title is going to be FN Teach. I'm not gonna put the GmbH, the business type in here, because that's not gonna be any good. So OG type, I said earlier, we are going to look at on this ogp.me. They have a list of all the types an entry could be. The type of your object, for example, movie, video.movie. So we want to, anything that becomes part of the Open Graph, we want to describe as what the thing is. If the page was about a song, we'd say this is a music.song, or a music.album if it's about an album, or a video.episode if this is an entry about the latest episode of Doctor Who. We also have the more generic article. If it is an article like in a blog, if you have a blog post, you would use that one, and you can with it specify additional attributes like when was this post published, when was it updated last, who is the author, what tags did I add to this article, if it's about a book, if it's about a profile on a social network, or there's the uber generic website. This is not the page that we're looking at. This is not an article. There is no author. There's nothing to it. So because I don't have anything else, this is not a movie. This is not any kind of media. I'm going to go website. And we're going to go website for the legal notice and the cookie policy and the privacy policy as well. because those don't fit any of the other categories. This is just a site on the web. The OG URL. So what URL, what canonical URL can this be found under? The canonical URL of your object that will be used as its permanent ID in the graph. Let's make this as easy as possible. Let's hard code this. So this will be fnteach.com. Add the slash or don't add the slash. I think for the domain itself, we don't need to add the slash. OG image we don't have yet. We want to add an image here that we can show later. Again, gonna hard code this for now. I'm gonna change that in a bit. So this is gonna be fnteach.com, and let's say this will be open og image dot. Let's make it a PNG file. I don't have that image yet, so that this will fail. What we're gonna do real quick is I think I have something that I can do in Sketch. Let's jump into Sketch. Oh, thank you for viewing. Thank you for following. This is cool. Where's the file? Where is the? It's not in the main. It could be in main. I don't think I have much for this page yet. So what we're gonna need is an image that has certain dimensions. We can, with OG image, specify what is the URL to the file. We can also specify. Oh, here it is. What's the URL? If like the colon URL is optional, what is the secure URL, which would be an alternate URL if the web page requires HTTPS. In this case, I have a redirect from the HTTP to the HTTPS version. I don't care what you link to, so I don't need the secure URL. The type we can specify. If we don't specify it, whatever uses the tags is going to try to find out by loading the image. So we could say this is an image JPEG or this is an image PNG. I don't know if it's of much benefit. If it doesn't hurt, we might as well do it, but it's not one of the required ones. So we can do that later if we are so inclined. We could specify the width and height. Now I'm not sure what width and height it needs to be. So I am going to cheat. Here they use 400 and 300. I am 100% not sure. So I am going to see what I did for my other site, domhabazak.com. And I think I did the same. I think I called it ogimage.png for the default. Nope. .jpeg. I could look it up. I am going to look it up. I don't have to look it up because I can see it in the markup. This is just for reference, so I know what dimensions to create this image as. And if we look at the source code to this, it will have OG image. Oh, undefined. Sorry, not sure if I should laugh loudly into the microphone. This is broken. So for my 404 page at least, the OG image does not exist. That is bad, and I need to make a note of that. But on the home page, okay, it's https://domhabazak.com/og-image/default.png. Okay. Need to make a note that I need to fix my 404 page. And this is the file that we saw it load earlier in this card validator. If we go here and go domhabazak.com again, and it's different between social networks. You can see this seems to cut off right below this circular avatar image here, whereas if we zoom in, no, we can't zoom in. It's a bit taller, and we see the circle about to close here, but on Twitter it's cut off, so it doesn't use exactly these dimensions. But I think the way it appears in the timeline, they'll be different. So if it appears on the actual Twitter feed, it will show all the information. Just this preview here doesn't use it. We're just going to assume that that's what it is. And if I hover over here, I see the dimensions are 1200 by 628 pixels. So let's jump into Sketch. And in here, this is the logo that I'm using. Why is this not I don't know if I have. Oh, okay, cool. This is the I wonder, why is this not a symbol? Logo, dribble logo, FN teach. Did I make it a symbol in here? Do I have a document for FN teach itself? Sorry, I need to check that real quick, because if I have it, no, I don't. That is odd. Okay, I'm gonna have to create that. Anyways, we're gonna ignore that because we don't need it. What we need is let's just create it anywhere in here. So I want to add an artboard, and you could do this in any, of course, any of the drawing applications. It could be Figma just as well. I am just a fan of Sketch because it doesn't matter. I use whatever works best for the use case. And I can specify it at, let's do 600, and what was it? 628. Let's do 628 divided by 2. 600, right, these numbers look familiar. 600 by 314. Why is this not a symbol? Let's make it a symbol. And on this artboard, which we're going to call OG image, let's add the FN teach logo. This will just be a white image. We need to make sure that it's white and that it's not transparent. This will be a white image with the logo on it, and we could even give it a color. Let's say we are going to make you 4 times this size. Yeah, I mean, good enough for now, right? It just needs to be something. I want to have something there, and I want it to not be cut off. So even if Twitter decides to cut off the top and the bottom, it's fine. This will be the image that shows up in the card. We want to export that, and here we see it would export it as transparent. I want to add a background color. Any background color is fine. I could go with I don't have a branding color for this, really. I did not invest any time in branding it. This looks very wrong. I cannot have a German company with those colors. And no, okay. Could do yellow. Let's just go white. I don't want to spend too much time on designing this. Wow, close call on the red. Don't do red. And because this is a super simple image, it's not a photo of anything. We can do PNG, which will end up smaller than the JPEG. By exporting it at 2x, it will be the 1200 by 628 that we saw earlier. Exported. And it's going to export it to, let's say, FN teach to my projects, fnteach.com. And if I put it in the public directory, it will just be available at the domain. So if anything I put in here will be at fnteach.com/whatever. And let's say, and we wanted to call it ogimage.png and save for web. That might do something. Sure. Let's put it there, and back to the editor. That was enough. That was just for reference to see what size to create this image at. Now this will be fine. This is the meta tags that I need. It has the title, it has the OG type, it has the OG URL, and the OG image. I could leave it at that, honestly. I could take that, I could copy it over to the other page that I have. So let's save that and let's go to the one with the slug. This one had a bit more in it because it loaded markdown files from somewhere, and then I put the title from there on here. So we need to make a few more adjustments, but the basic idea is the same. Somewhere on this, on the component, on the markup that's returned from here, we want to put the head tags, and want to close that down here. Close, and we need to import head from next head. Now I don't need to hard code that. I don't want to hard code the title to fnteach, because this would be what shows up if I go to, let's say, the legal notice. And the legal notice has a title. I can use that title in here. So let's say my content, instead of being just the string fnteach, I want to prefix this with the legal notice as it writes it right here. So let's change Let's change these quotes to backticks. Put it in curly brackets because we're doing React here. This is all in Next.js. We saw earlier that I pass the page title to this scaffold already, and I assume this is exactly what puts the title here. So we are going to write page.title, and let's put one of the pipes in between. So if you are on one of these pages, it will show up as legal notice pipe fnteach. The OG type is the same. This is still a website. This isn't a movie all of a sudden. This is actually, let's go to the terms of service. This would put terms of service on here. The terms of service has a last updated date, which I could put on here if it was an article. If I say this is a blog post, I could put on there what's the date, what's the not published, the updated at, right? For the article, it has a modified time. When was this page last modified? But it's not a blog post. It will change every once in a while, but when it comes down, it's still a website. The URL is different though. It won't always be fnteach.com. It will sometimes be fnteach.com/terms-of-service. And we need to find out how to add that here. Surround. So same dealio. We want to add something here, but I right now do not know what that is. And the OG image can be the same. I don't have, so on my personal site, I have preview images that show what's for a blog post. This is the name of the blog post. This is the tags, or this is the categories. Looks a bit different, but for here it's perfectly fine if it just shows the logo. I don't need to say terms of service on the image itself. If I wanted to, I could pass a different OG image for every page on my site. For this one, doesn't really matter all that much. So how can we get the URL? We're going to use the router, and Next is going to give us import. Is it use router like this? Yeah, from Next router. This is going to give us the router. We want to get the router with the use router hook. Console log. Let's just return. Let's just log. I said return, so I type return. Let's end it again. Let's log what the router is to the console, because I think it has the path to the page on there. I could probably get it from the slug. But let's do router because that will be a bit more direct. Okay. And I'm gonna increase the size of that a bit for you. Let's reload the page. Let's ignoring event localhost. Here. It logged the router, and here it said as path it has the /terms of service. That's good. So we could use that straight away. That would be fine. I want to see what other attributes are on the router. We have functions, we have before pub state, we have components. That doesn't seem like it contains the path anywhere. Not events, not fallback. Path name. Now this is the path name as defined in the file. And because the file is at /slug, this won't help me if I want to get the terms of service. I could get the slug from the query. So this square bracket slug, what's in here will be replaced by what's passed to the component, so what it's called with. And we could use the slug. That I think would be fine. And the slug I see is passed to here already. And since the slug is always the thing that's in the URL, that's like a blog post, a slug of a blog post is usually the title of that blog post in all lowercase with the spaces replaced with dashes. So if the page here is terms of service, what we get as the slug is all lowercase terms-of-service. And you know what? Because I don't know if it makes a difference, we can avoid having to use the router in the first place if we take the slug from the page. So as we pass page.title, to the OG title, we can probably just page.slug. How the slug ends up here is part of my setup. I could explore that in a bit, but for now, let's just, knowing that the slug is there, put it on here, and let's see if that already added all the OG tags that we need. So we have OG title, terms of service, pipe, fnteach. That's fine. OG type website, ideal. OG image is fnteach.com/OG image, but where is the URL? What are you doing to me next? Where is the URL? Oh, it shows up here again. Why does it show up here again? Oh, did I add? Oh, oh, okay. I did the work twice now, because I did that before. I already did that. Okay, let's actually look at the scaffold. The scaffold is a component that already has... God damn it. I'm already doing that, but incorrectly. Uh-huh. Why did... Okay. This says that it is passing it. The way we started out today is we looked at this. One or more of the open graph tags missing. I'm going to rip it out of here because I like the new approach better. But view affected URLs. I thought what this error here, what this warning meant was, hey, you don't have any of these 4. You need to add all of these 4. But that wasn't what it said at all. It only said, hey, you're missing some of them. Open graph attributes, it has description, site name, type, and URL. And it never had a... What's it missing? If it has these, then it is missing the title and the image. Right? The type is mandatory, the URL is mandatory, and these are being set correctly already. Site name is being set, description is the description. We only need to add, damn it, we only need to add the title and the image. And we could hard code that, but that's boring. That's not what I came here for, because I wanted to extract that into a component later. I had a whole thing planned, and now you're telling me I don't need to do the thing at all. That is disappointing. So config site title. Let's just assume. Let's just pretend we didn't see this, because this honestly was over-engineered. Meta description type website custom meta. Where are you getting this? Where are you getting this? Okay. Custom meta and meta. No, this wasn't cool at all. This wasn't cool at all. Okay, we're gonna do that differently. I saw that going differently in my mind. The description. Okay, no, not a fan of what I did here. We're gonna take this out and this out. Doesn't really matter. So we're gonna stick with what we did before. Here we saw we did the router as part. Let's make this easier. Let's make it fail on something else. That is fine. And let's remove the canonical. Let's remove that. Yeah, let's remove it because no, let's remove it. I'd rather do it right than what I did here is I copied an over-engineered solution from somewhere else, and that is no longer relevant. I can remove the router here. Sorry, I need to remove all of this. This didn't make any sense. I wanted to get this site up and running as quickly and as I possibly could, and did it badly. Like you see here, empty class names. It's not ideal. Today we want to add the OG as we have it here, and we're going to add the page slug. Now I will be less confused, I hope, because now I should not have two sets of open graph tags on here. I have OG title, type URL, and it shows up as fnteach.com/terms of service, as I expect, and with the OG image pointing to the OG image. And the other ones are gone. Okay, that's fine. Now and that means that if we use the slug and if we use the title, which we both get from the page directly, then we do not need to look at the router. We don't need to use the use router hook. Let's keep you here. And that is always read from the page. Okay. Now we have the stuff here. And if we go to the home page and we look at the open graph tags here, where is it? OG title, fnteach without the pipe, because that is not added on the index tsx. This is just what we have right here. It's also a website. It is just fnteach.com, and it points to this image, which doesn't exist yet. Okay. So I noticed that I have been a naughty boy. Oh, because I did... Oh no, this is all that I did just now. We're doing this on the main branch, which is a no-no. Why? Okay, this is just indented. That is fine. And let's git check out a new branch called Open Graph. Let's add all of these, and let's say add hard-coded Open Graph tags to index and pages, and let's push this to GitHub. So we can later see what the differences are in a pull request. I'm not sure if I have any automated testing set up for this repository, but let's open the pull request anyway, so we can then see what we are going to change and see if anything happens, if I have any actions set up. And I have an action, but only the deployment workflow, which we're not going to do yet. Okay. Now, a few things are hard code and a few things are duplicated in here. If I put them on top of each other, index, now this is the index slug tsx. So we have the index on top and the slug down here. I can see we have the title, type URL and image, title, type URL and image, and website and image are identical. The other two aren't really. So we are going to create a component. Let's look at the directories that we have. We have here a components directory. Let's open that in Finder. And here we, okay. This is the directory of the, what happened here? There we go. This is the directory of this repository, of this project. And in the components directory, yeah, I have a whole bunch of components. So nothing much yet. This is TypeScript components. So let's add a new one. Let's touch components open-graph.tsx. Let's reload this here, and if we go to Open Graph TSX, this is now my empty component. I want to put the meta tags that I added on the pages in here. So let's go to the index page, take out all of this, and put it here. So this will be export default function Open Graph. I don't know what I will pass to this yet. I know, but we'll add that later. and we'll return just what's in here. So we will return these meta tags in here. We don't need to import anything else. Export default function open graph, return these. So over here we can instead return, we can render the open graph component, which it doesn't know yet. So this will fail when it reloads. Yeah, can't find variable open graph because we need to import open graph from add components open dash graph. You reload, please. And oh no, it's broken. Type is invalid. Inspected a string for built-in components. It's probably something obvious, right? Export default function. What is it? What is it? Export default function open graph. And because it's the default, I can import it like this. What am I not seeing? What I'm not seeing is that I did not... I think the development mode has a problem with newly created files. Like if I had updated it after creating it, that would have been fine, but it won't pick up on the newly created open graph TSX. And please be the problem. No, that was not the problem. If you're watching and you know what's going on, drop me a hint, because I don't think I am seeing the problem. Export default function open graph, import open graph from components open graph. I did not save the file, maybe? Do a thing. Why is it not doing the thing? Okay, let's check out the components scaffold. Let's compare it to that. Export default function scaffold. And we are going to we're immediately going to return something. What's going on? Oh, it's back. I don't know. Okay. Might have been the problem after all. This loaded, and I now see the title, the OG title, and only the OG title. It's swallowing the other ones unless it's gonna put them down here. And I remember seeing this the other day. This happened to me before. In my head, I only have the OG title that says FN teach. I don't have the OG type. I don't have the OG URL. I don't have the OG image. Which is because... Let's go back to where we use it. Open graph. So we use the open graph. We put it in the head. That is supposed to be the thing, right? What am I not seeing? Do you want to be reloaded again? I can do it. That should never fix the problem. That should never really be it. Show me the open graph tags. It does the title and then it doesn't do anything else. Cool. Not cool. I am going to check. I'm going to do that on my phone real quick. I'm going to check what I did in my other repository where I... Why did I not write down what happened? This is why it's always a good idea to document how you're fixing problems, because I remember doing this just the other week and now it's no longer there. And I think I had it to the head component here. Okay. Okay, so the fix, that's silly. I don't know why that is, but I know how to fix it. Okay, so stick with me here. What I did is I extracted all the meta tags to their own component. And then I took what was returned from there and put it in here, where I put it inside of a head tag for some reason. And it might be with how the next head tag works, that doesn't do what I want. What I can do is I can take this head and I can put it in my component directly. Nope, not here, not here. Damn it. And head. So we're gonna do import head from next head. We're not gonna load the head in on the page, but we're gonna do that as part of the Open Graph component. Sure, why not? I would have preferred this to be a bit more generic, to only return meta tags. Is it because of the fragment, possibly? Because if a fragment is treated like sort of like a div, would that limit what this can return and put into a head? I would have preferred this to return a list of meta tags so that I could package it into a component that I can use in projects that do not use Next.js. Right now, this component will always use the head component from next/head. Sure, if we say this component is only going to be used in this project anyways, and we don't need to make it more generic and need to make it importable anywhere else, that's perfectly fine. We can keep it at that. And now I see the... You're messing with me now. Let's reload you again. What's going on? Okay, so we have the title, we have the type, we have the OG URL, and we have the OG image. Sweet. That's what I wanted. And now we are going to do the same to the, was it the slug page? So instead of loading the head here, we are going to import Open Graph from @components open -graph. And in here, so I am going to replace the head with Open Graph. We're going to keep this head actually. What's identical to what's in the component is the content and is the OG image. Those can always stay the same. For what I'm concerned, there will always be website and /ogimage.png for this project. Now the title and the URL are different, which means if I don't want to have the exact same title on all pages, I need to pass that to Open Graph somehow. So I am going to take this and I'm going to create a title. I'm going to pass this as a title property, and the title property I want to be exactly this, right? What I had in the meta tag, and I'm going to do the same here for the URL. And basically anything that's content here that I want to pass to the Open Graph component. So instead of not receiving anything, this receives a title and a URL. And here, instead of passing the hard-coded fnteach.com, we're going to pass the URL. You need to remember what we did here. And the OG title, we're going to pass as the title that we're passing to here. This would be cool, but now we're not doing that on the index page. So we need to go back to the index page and here pass a title as fnteach. And we could make this more generic. We could make this more flexible. For now, I want to have it in place. And the URL will be, and it's a bad idea to hard code this here because again, this is duplication and I could have a typo in the URL now, but I can accept this for now. Open Graph, title, fnteach, and URL. So if we look at this, it will show the title as fnteach and the URL as fnteach.com. And let's see if the OG image shows up. I can't use, this is a problem with this being hard-coded to fnteach.com because I haven't published this yet. This wouldn't show up yet. but I can see this image on here. Again, it's not super pretty. It's the logo on a white background. It's not going to set the world on fire, but it is something that can show up on the card. And if I go to the legal notice, or to any of the slug pages, I wanted to, in the head, show website, the same image. And we see OG title is now legal notice, pipe fn teach. And the content of the OG URL is the URL of this page. And that is good enough for now, right? What did we change? Here we added the open graph. So we have an open graph component now that we could add more flexibility to. Let's add this, and let's commit it as add open graph component, git push origin open graph. And because I want to see how it works, how it shows up, and because I mean it's getting late where I am, and the next audit is going to run, the next ahrefs audit, SEO audit is going to run tomorrow morning. I would like to release this now. So on my pull request, now of course has the wrong title. So we are going. I'm the only one who has access to this repository. So it doesn't really matter. Add open graph tags, just in case anyone gets access later when I add collaborators and they want to see what happened, they can. So what do? We added the open graph component. I did not type this to be clean. I'd have to add types now to define what title is and URL is, but I'd rather release this and improve it later. I removed stuff from the scaffold where I had some of this before. Now I took some things out. I took the flexible title out, which isn't ideal at all. And actually I don't want that. I don't want to just always have it say title fn teach. So what we are going to have to do, we're going to have to bring some of this back. In the head of the homepage, we're going to say fn teach. And here import head from next head. And same on the slug page. Import head from next head. Okay, because if with the change that I made here, every page, it would show the correct title on the open graph, but it wouldn't show the correct title in the actual page on the tab on the title. So I'm gonna have to hard code this for now. It's not really part of the, we're passing it to the open graph component, but the title isn't itself part of the open graph specification. Anything that the open graph component does has to be related to the OG colon whatever properties. I don't want to push the title in here as well, like the HTML title. So we're going to add some duplication for now that we are going to clean up at some point, which at this speed is going to be like 3-4 months from now, which is fine. I'm going to add some duplication back, which is unfortunate, but here like this. Let's increase this a bit. So on the index page, I add the title to the head, and here I add page title, pipe fn teach. I used this middle dot before, and actually I generally prefer that over the pipe. So let's replace that here and here in those two locations. This is the one duplication that we had. It's no longer being read from the configuration. That's unfortunate. The canonical URL we will have to bring back. And I hope the site audit is going to complain about that. Then we can look at that next. The meta description is not really being used anymore, is it? I'm not sure how relevant it is. And maybe Google will take it from the open. I don't have a description anymore. we're gonna let ahrefs, the ahrefs audit, complain, and we're gonna take it from the most to least important. OG description, I removed. OG site name, I said could always be the site name. It would make a lot of sense here. I'm gonna have it complain first. Then here we added the open graph component to the slug page, past the title, past the URL. Everything else is just indented. Same with the index page. And this is the OG image itself. What do we do here? Add page specific title, git push origin open graph. Damn it, yeah. This updated. And we just went through. I broke a few things now, and I'm okay with that because it's not a high traffic site. No one's linking to it anyways. So we are going to go ahead and merge it. I'm just going to see what happens. So if we go to the live version, fnteach.teach.com, and if we try to validate the card here, if we preview the card here now, it's not able to yet because the deployment is running now. We can look at, it's using GitHub Actions to deploy it. Haven't done that since 7 days ago. So 7 days ago it still worked. That is good to know. Unless something broke, this should deploy everything to my host now. For now, so I loaded it before the deployment. In my head tag, I have the ones that I had before. Those were missing the OG title and the OG image. Now I'll lose 2 and I'll gain 2 other ones. Not ideal. Oh, build application failed. What did it fail with? Okay. See, I was trying to be naughty. I was trying to be naughty and it won't let me. Because I must have in the TS config. Have I set it to, did I set it to strict? Oh, I set it to strict. And no implicit, I think, does strict imply no implicit any? Because this now, this is a TypeScript application. And here I decided to just not give it any types. The open graph component in particular. I just said this can take a title and a URL. But I'm not going to tell you what those are. And it won't let me be naughty. I have to define that title is a string and URL is it's a good precaution, right? It's good to have that in place. I just didn't think it was relevant for this tiny component, but that's how everything starts falling apart. If we take shortcuts here, who says we're not going to take shortcuts somewhere else as well, where it's more important? Now, I think I have a script in place, so let's check the package JSON, so I don't have to push everything and then wait for the deployment process to get up to this stage. So I have a script, a build script, a dev script, a lin script, and a tsc script. So a type script check. npm run tsc. This is what complained here. This is where it did the checking validity of types. It found a problem. Property description does not exist on type intrinsic attributes children React node. Where is it doing that? That's on the slug page. Let's close this. Where are you passing something to scaffold? Oh, okay. So let's quit. Let's start this again. In the scaffold component, I'm passing children. And before I had that I can pass other stuff as well. And that stuff would be treated as meta information. I removed that. And now type check catches that, which is good. It tells me that, hey, you're passing something here that the component doesn't really know what to do with. It doesn't expect. And I'm doing that in the slug TSX. So we see here, I'm passing something to scaffold, which only expects children now. I'm passing a description and I'm passing a title. How naughty. That is not good. And if it only catches one error at a time, seems like it. Because if I had removed only the description, it would have complained about the title next. Let's run that and let's drink some water. So I've been doing this stream for over an hour now, and there could be no audio. Like, I could have talked to myself now. I have not checked the setup at all. So maybe you have all just been watching me mime some code very unentertainingly. I'm gonna have to check this in a second. I hope this worked. I hope this wasn't all for naught. Anyways, if I could do sign language, I could do the rest in sign language now. The type check worked. Let's also run a lint. Allow me to take myself off of this for a second. I think I have this button. Yeah, this button worked. So you can see all the errors because I was in the the webcam is shown in the bottom corner here. So this says no ESLint warnings or errors. Let's bring me back. What we did, git div, is we added types to the open graph component and removed properties from the scaffold. So add types to open graph, remove obsolete props, git push origin open graph, and see, I did a silly now because I had already merged the pull request. The branch still exists, but it won't automatically be merged again. I only caught the problems when I tried to deploy, which is called continuous deployment. When there's a new change that's ready to be deployed, push it to somewhere, Git in this case, and the deployment happens automatically from there. I don't have continuous integration, which is whenever there's a change, check if everything's still working. Run the linter, run the type checker, run the tests. If I only run those on deployment, now, and you can watch me do this in real time, now I need to do the whole dance again. I need to create, I think it shows it, no, it doesn't show it anywhere. I have to open a pull request. New pull request, compare open graph to main. So I want to pull open graph into the main branch. This would be the changes. Yep. Create pull request. I could probably merge it from the interface as well, but the proper way is to go through a pull request. Usually this could be set up to also run the linter now, so we don't have to wait until later. But for now, the way I have set it up, everything only works if I merge it. I also just accidentally clicked the button here that deleted the branch. It's fine. I'm not going to need it again. If I need it again, I can push it again. We can go to the actions, and we see nicely here that all these deployments worked. This one failed, and we have another one that's in progress. We can watch what it does here, and let's actually explore it. Set up a job, check out the project, set up Node.js, and I think this uses an older version. It's on 14.18.2, node-version, and I'm on 16 locally, so I could update my GitHub workflow. It installed dependencies, it ran the tests, it is running the build, and we see it didn't get to that step before. So at least the validity of types it was happy with. Something else could go wrong still, but it's not the TypeScript types. Once it's doing that, so it's building, it's pushing everything together, it's reloading the application. Okay, because this happens on my server. Everything here where it's building the application that already runs on my hardware, and then it only needs to reload the application using NVM PM2, I mean, a process manager. PM2. Now fnteach.com is reloaded. Let's take it here. And when I reload, I don't want to see the OG description. I don't want to see the site name. I want to see the title and the image instead. Let's check out the head. And that's what I see. I see OG title, I see OG type, OG URL, OG image. And because everything is pushed, this should now under the URL show the OG image. And to finalize it, let's preview the card in the card validator that Twitter would use. It is unable to render card preview. Why is that? Why is that? Why is that? Let's try one of the subpages. Let's go to legal-notice. Okay, it shows a card. It doesn't show the card in the format that I'd like. I'd like it to be it doesn't really need to be the big image. Maybe this one makes more sense actually. You saw on my personal site on the domhabersack.com, it had the big version of the image, and this is not an open graph tag. This is a Twitter meta tag that we can add in addition to those, which tells it, hey, I want to have here, it's called Twitter:card. I want this to be summary large image rather than summary image, which is the default. But on fnteach.com, I wanted to show the card now. It doesn't have a description. It doesn't have any tags. It doesn't have anything else. It has an image now. It has something at least, right? And if we go to terms of service, it shows terms of service, this little middle dot, fnteach. So something is in place, which for now is totally good enough for me. Let's switch back to the main branch. Let's pull the latest changes, and let's locally git branch -d. Let's remove the open graph branch. This isn't ideal. This isn't complete, but I need to leave something for next time I'm going to stream. What I'm doing now is basically I'm gonna wait until tomorrow morning. I could trigger a new crawl now on ahrefs, and it would pick up on the changes immediately, and then I could add another change. I could implement something new that it complains about. I could run a new crawl automatically. I don't need to rush it because I am tired, and I could do this next time as well. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna wait for it to come back to me tomorrow. This is scheduled to every week, and this doesn't cost me anything also, which is cool. This is scheduled to every Friday morning around 9 a.m. to run the audit again. If something breaks, it will show me once a week. I intentionally put it on Friday because whatever's going to break there, maybe I'm going to point, maybe my pages, one of the blog posts points to a URL that's returning a 500 or that's moved. And ahrefs would tell me about that, and I could easily fix that on a Friday before going into the weekend. And we are going to continue, though. Next time we're going to stream with this for a bit, because this setting up SEO correctly is healthy. So we are going to take that, and we're going to make sure that this list just keeps shrinking. And it's entirely doable. If we look at meta description too short, so the meta description is too short on 4 pages. We can fix the meta description on 4 pages. It looks a bit differently on my personal site, where I have hundreds of posts and little fire tips. There, making any change would take a lot of time. Like, I have a lot of pages that don't have any description yet, which is bad. If those are shared, they could be much more personalized. They could be much improved. Need to get to that eventually, and any sort of upkeep there is healthy. We are going to see if Twitter card missing is fixed with the change here. We're going to wait for the next scroll, and we'll continue from there. So far, I think this was a good reintroduction into me streaming. Let me know how this worked for you. Let me know if there was audio, because I'm gonna have to check this in a second now. And I'm aiming to do this more regularly now. It's going to be around the same time. So that's 10 p.m. to almost midnight. Yeah, almost midnight my time, which is Central European time, which is the Berlin time zone, which is an hour earlier on UTC. And I didn't even check what time this is in America right now. Maybe this is a bad time. So the times might change. I don't know. But I'm aiming to do this at least twice a week. Do one of these sessions on Tuesday, one on Thursday, if the schedule permits. Ideally more, if I can add Saturday into the mix as well, but this probably won't be as regular. And I don't know. The format's probably going to evolve. What I'm going to work on is going to evolve. This now was an excursion into just getting me back into talking about this. Eventually, what I want to do is I want to build proper products. There is something that I am working on that will actually be for sale, and I want to show you how to actually hook something up to the Stripe API, how to collect payments, how to send fulfillment emails, how to build an e-commerce platform kind of with JavaScript and such. It could be marketing 1 week, it could be development. So I want to give you practical tips. I hope today was a good introduction for me to just start building the habit again. This will be more intense. If you like this, I don't know. Do we smash buttons? I'm in my mid-30s. I don't know what buttons people are smashing today. Thank you for watching. I hope I will see you again soon. Have a lovely day or evening. I really need to stop talking. It's late for me and my brain is just not functioning anymore. Thank you and talk to you soon. Bye bye.